I'm Rondel Owens. It's my channel. Wanted to talk today about something that just went down yesterday. Had something to do with like Charlie Kirk's being shot and killed yesterday. I just want to say that he was a very great man. He talked about very basic things that I could sum up what he was talking about in a nutshell. From the stuff that I gathered when I watched his stuff, he talked about finding the love of your life, finding purpose, having a strong relationship with God, having a couple kids, getting married, yo yo, and you know, so what happened to him yesterday was super um crazy. It was untoward. I'm praying for the person who shot him. I'm also praying for Charlie Kirk's family. And also I wanted to tell us young people that we got to stand up to evil. We got to do things the right way. So we got to pray for people. We got to love on each other. We got to show the love of Christ to people. We also got to start running for office. So I'm talking to everybody who's like constitutionally, depending on which state you're in, if you're able to run for council on your local town, if you're able to run for your city, for your state, and also for your Congress, for Congress. As young people, we need to show up in numbers. We need to start support what Charlie Kirk's work was, and let's get out there. Let's go out there and vote. Young people, if you have a vision to want to change America, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's run for office. Let's start unseating these people there, who are part of the problem and not the solution. So I feel like this is a call for us to run. Even if you're in the city, you're a city kid and you have bright ideas and you want to change where you're living. I will encourage you to run for public office. We need to do something. His death is not going to be in vain. We're going to keep his legacy going. Um, I just feel like political violence, regardless of your beliefs, is unacceptable, especially if the person is willing to sit there and have that debate with you, because this is America. That's what we're founded on having rigorous debates. And even sometimes you have debates with people that you don't really care for or understand, or you have a disagreement with. It's still your brother. It's still your could be your cousin, could be your dad, could be somebody important to you. And I feel like we need to, as Americans, come together. We need to love each other, because everybody has a story to tell and everybody sees things a little bit differently. And we cannot have the mindset that if what I think is what it is, and it shouldn't be forced on anybody. Um, and also too, we have to stop this inflammatory rhetoric of calling people Nazis, um, xenophobic, or what's the other words? What are the other words that people are using? Like you're anti-Semitic and you're a Nazi, you're a domestic terrorist, because I feel like that rhetoric is super inflammatory and it's over the top for no reason, and it causes people to be violent with each other. And it could literally be like somebody talking about being pro-family, and then they could be called a right-wing domestic terrorist. And it's like, how? So we need to choose our words wisely when we're talking to each other, because we're inciting violence and hatred towards people. And I want to publicly say, I condemn these actions. I'm going to use my platform, my little small platform I have, to share the word and get the word out, and also too that we actually hold our politicians accountable and our media outlets accountable for using inflammatory rhetoric towards individuals that are causing them to be literally getting death threats and all that stuff, and taking those stuff seriously. Um, that's something that's very important. I think we need to hold people accountable, but also too, we need to foster a place where we can all have disagreements and we can talk about it. Because if we don't talk about it, then we don't come up with solutions. And to be honest with you, listening to both sides is a really great thing, because you can find out things about each other that you honestly didn't know if you just sit there and have a conversation. Because I'll give you an example, right? So like So like a lot of people propose prison reform, right? A lot of liberals propose prison reform because they feel like you being locked up for years upon years doesn't do you justice, because when it's time for you to come out, you don't know anything else but being in the system, and then you're basically stuck in a cycle where you don't know how to live in society. So they're very big advocates for prison reform. Now, on the other hand, people are like, well, I'm pro law enforcement, and if you do the crime, you got to do the time. And it's like, okay, where do we find that healthy medium? If we don't have these conversations, then we can't come out with programs for like people who are in jail. They should be able to have access to getting a trade, to getting trade, getting a college education while they're in jail for all those years. And then also too, they should be able to, if they're fully rehabilitated, that they should be able to have a way where their record gets expunged, and then not having to disclose to um businesses that they are convicted felons, so that way they can be more marketable in the workplace. I'm all for that. But if we're not having discussions with each other, this is why we have backwards policies that don't help anybody, that disenfranchise people. And I don't want to be here using my platform to spread hate, but I just want to use my platform to bring people together, um, to get to understand each other, because everybody has a different path that they walked and they've seen different experiences. But it's a great thing when the collective come together and they share their experiences, and we come out with solutions to help people, because that's how you find issues to problems. Another thing I wanted to share today, that we need to come together as young people, because I noticed that us we have it harder than most generations that I've seen have it together. We're we have a very big issue, guys. I want to break something down to you guys so you guys can understand politics, okay? Because I feel like when you listen to people talk about politics, they make it seem like it's overly complicated, and it's actually very simple. It's three-dimensional, okay? It's three-dimensional. There's three parts to it, and each part helps each other. So if you think about it, it's a link on a chain, okay? So, s- guys, this is how this works, okay? There's three branches of government, okay? Three branches of government. There's your legislature, okay? Your legislature is where laws are passed and where funding comes from, okay? And how you get certain programs and certain agencies, okay? Now, they also write how the government is supposed to operate, okay? Then you have the executive branch, okay? Which is like your president or your governor. And what they do is they execute the laws that are passed. So, like, I'll give you an example. Congress or like your state house instituted the police department, right? Boom. Then you have the governor who oversees the law enforcement portion, right? And then they just make sure that the laws get followed. So if Congress passes a law for a speeding, like you can't speed on this road, you're only allowed to go 50 miles an hour, and you go over 70, you go over like 20 plus, then the governor enforces the law, and then you have the judicial branch, which reads and interprets the law and makes sure stuff gets adjudicated properly. Now, if you live in a city or in a state where you have high taxes, high crime, and you have a lot of poverty, you need to look at who you guys are voting in for as your legislature. And then also, too, pay attention to who you guys are voting in as governor. Because if your governor is a bad person, oh my God, I don't know. Let me explain a little bit better. So I feel like everybody who works understands this analogy where, okay. So you ever work, right? And your boss goes to write you up for something, and then you call HR because HR is supposed to be the referee. And when HR doesn't do their job, that's the problem we have in. Oh my God, I'm saying this backwards, guys. Hold on. I was just explaining this to somebody the other day. Okay, so let me bring it back. Let me walk it back. Okay, let me say this right. I know what I'm talking about. Just all over the place, because this thing with Charlie Kirk really like threw me in a loop. Okay, um, so this is how this works. You guys were all taxpayers, right? So when you live in your state, you're a taxpayer, you pay taxes, right? You are classified as a shareholder. in your state, okay? Because you have a financial stake in your state, okay? So if you are a shareholder, right? Shareholder, you are paying for your state. So when you pay taxes, it's supposed to cover your roads, your police, social welfare programs, right? Boom. And then when you go to vote as a shareholder, you pick legislators. Legislators are your board of directors, okay? They're the ones that set policy and funding for your state, okay? So when I say set policy, they pass rules and things that allow you guys to do certain things in your state, okay? Now, then you also appoint your CEO, which is your governor, okay? Is your governor. Your governor or president, depending on if you're in the state and then federal, right? Because there's two types of government and they both function the same. Okay. Right. If you have bad policymakers, right, in your state, then you need to pay attention to why your state has high taxes. Why do you have high homelessness? Why do you have high crime? And why do you have high high cost of living? Because that's not normal. You gotta vote out, you have to understand what your legislators are doing and you have to change them because they're the ones that set funding for everything. So if you have an actual problem, it starts with the legislator. Then it comes to also having a good executive, right? So if you don't have a good executive like your governor or president, when Congress or your state legislature writes laws, if you don't have a good executive, which is your CEO, he doesn't read the bills, he plays party politics, and instead of him reading this bill and saying, hey, this bill is a bad bill, I'm going to veto it because it disenfranchises people and this is going to cause irreparable harm, they won't veto it. They'll pass it because their party said to. So then we're playing partisan party politics. And then your judicial system is like HR, okay? It's like HR. They're the judges that are supposed to interpret and also play referee and say, wait, this one's out of bounds, this law is unconstitutional for these reasons. What happens is you have a board of directors that don't do their job, then you have a CEO, which is your boss, that causes you problems. And then when you go to HR, instead of HR having your back, no, they side with the man. You have you have bad governors that appoint. So I'll tell you this: it's three branches. Again, they all work beside each other, right? So when you have your governor, if you have a bad governor, guys, bad governor, he's allowed to appoint judges and put people on the court, right? So what ends up happening is you get these activist judges, instead of them reading the law and being fair and honest and having fair dealings, they end up becoming party politics. They end up playing party politics. And this is why we're in the situation we're in now. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is, in a long story short, you have to pay attention to who's running for your state assembly, state senate, and then you also have to be very diligent who you're putting in Congress, which is your House of Representatives, and then your House of and then your senators, because they're the ones that have a lot of power, the collective when they come together. So, you have to pay attention to those things because those are the three things of politics that makes it very easy to understand. One way to have really good politics where it's not divisive and not political and making stuff fair and easy, you need to vote in good legislators, okay? Good assemblymen, good House of Representatives, and really good senators and state senate people who are not going to play party politics and is actually going to do the job of the people. And then also appoint a good president and a good governor who's actually going to sit there and read and not play party politics. Because if you have a really good legislature, they're going to write good policy, then stuff's going to work properly. Then and you have a good governor who's going to understand how the system works, is going to read and make sure everything is straight. And then he's going to appoint really, really good judges that when you actually go and having to deal with the court system, or also dealing with certain laws that are passed, you'll have people who actually understand the Constitution and who are actually going to be honest and fair. Because if you understand how justice works, right? If you ever go to courthouses, you'll ever see a lady who's blindfolded. She has a scale in one hand, like she holds a scale, and then she has a sword. And what that represents, saying that justice is blind, and justice doesn't see you for who, doesn't see what the government alleges. She only sees, weighs it out in the scale to make sure that you're innocent or guilty. And then the sword is swift, which means justice. It comes down, it's swift, quick, boom, done. That's something that people need to understand how like the three branches work. And I just feel like a lot of people don't do a good job explaining that. I don't know if I did a good job. I feel like I understand it, but it's just basically it's very easy. So, and if you guys want things to change in your city or in your state, you got to change your legislative body and then also change your executive body. Because if you don't change system, not hard time with the court system, you're gonna have a hard time with poverty, crime, lawlessness, and always having to look over your shoulder. Okay. And another thing I wanted to talk about today is everybody get familiar with your political systems in your state and how it works. You should if you're young and you can run, you should run. Stop letting people run and speaking for us. And that's another thing, especially as a young black man, not a young black man, because I'm an American. Okay, I'm American first. But if I'm a young Latino, a black Hispanic. Okay, my mom's Hispanic, she's Puerto Rican, and my dad's black. Okay, stop letting people speak for us. Okay, if you're white, if you're black, if you're Hispanic, if you're Middle Eastern, okay, if you're a Syrian, stop letting people who don't share your interests and have your ideas speak for you, okay? Another thing I want to talk today about is us as a culture of black people. We need to stop doing what we're doing as a culture because our culture is super toxic and divisive, and I don't understand how do we operate on a level of where I'ma just be 100 transparent. I feel like the people I hang around, not even hang around. I just feel like our culture, we're a little racist on the low. It's a it's an honest fact. A little bit. We're a little prejudiced towards white people for what happened to us. I understand, but it doesn't give us the excuse. And another thing, this is why I'm telling people we gotta run for office because we have people from a different generation trying to set policy for us, and they have a one size fit all, or they're just saying that we're lazy and we don't work hard enough. And I know I'm ranting right now. You know, I just feel like we need to do something to change the way our politics are for us as a culture and black people and us. We need to stop with this having single mothers. Okay, it is not okay. Okay, I grew up without my father. Okay, I'm telling you from a young man's perspective, growing up without a dad is not cool. Okay, you have a piece of your identity that is missing. You're only taught from a female's perspective. You have to learn from other men. You make it very hard for your sons and your daughters to receive correction from a man. And also, you make your kids feel lost because I was a little lost, okay? And another thing, we got to stop the single motherlessness. We need to be pro-family. We need to have things that is going to create life for people and prosperity for people. And we need to set the even playing fields for people. Now, if there's a form of barrier to entry for some things, then we as a people need to look at it. We need to debate it a little bit, understand it, and then make the decision what we need to remove. Okay? Now, we as children all have a blank slate, and we need to make sure that each kid gets every single opportunity that they can achieve for themselves that's beneficial for them. Okay? Now, education is one of them, which is very important. You need to know how to read and write and be able to think for yourself and have critical thinking skills. Okay? That's very important. And I feel like that should be something that is equal for everybody, and it's already there for everybody. Now,
we also need to take advantage of all our opportunities that are given to us, because if we don't take advantage of our opportunities, then we will have a problem where a person who's not from here will come and they will take advantage of the opportunities because they never had them. So we also have to be very good when it comes to doing our own thing and, being entrepreneurial savvy, having a business acumen, changing your life. Stop looking at everybody else and blaming people because of a system, because we don't know, guys, what it is to grow up when they were segregation and you were literally dying. I say this story to people where your mom had you in your arms and you were dying, and you went to a white only hospital, and they said, unfortunately, because of the skin color, we don't serve your kind. We don't know what that's like. We never grew up in that time. So I'm not gonna sit here and say everything is racism. Okay? Another thing I notice with us as a culture and as a community, we don't dress like we're upstanding citizens, okay? A lot of us dress like we're gangbangers. And then you wonder why people look at us a certain way, or they have a prejudice, which means to prejudge with them not knowing, because you look like you're going to be a problem. So that's another thing. You got to dress nice. Hold yourself accountable. What can you do to make yourself better? I'm in the camp of I'm always want to learn and improve to make myself better, okay? And I'm not a victim for nobody, because I never experienced racism. Okay, I never experienced what it is to be called the N-word, or somebody to spit on you because of the color of your skin. And I don't know what it is to have to sit at a certain particular spot because the color of my skin. So I'm not gonna sit here and dwell on that, because that's not my experience and that's not my story. Now, can there be certain changes to certain systems? Yes. This is why I'm telling young people to get in to politics and understanding the systems, so we can change the systems that work for us in our current age. Okay. And two, what it is to be pro-America first. Pro-America first means I want to worry about my country and my fellow citizen and my fellow man, my brother, my neighbor, the person in my town. That's what that means to be America first. It doesn't mean that it's a racist idea to take care of your own country first, okay? People right now are waking up to the realities of what's going on, okay? We should not be we should not be doing anything for any other country unless we take care of our own country first, okay? That's going to be like this. I'll give you an example, okay? You know how moms and parents make sure that their kids eat first before them, because they said, as long as my kid eats, then I'm good. That's what that's about, okay? Being America first is making sure there's no homelessness, okay? Making sure if there's a homeless veteran that needs housing, that needs medical care, we're going to get them medical care. There's a homeless people on the street who have mental illness. Let's make sure that we get them off the street, get them the health care they need, put them in a place to live, get them up and fixing our problems here in America first before we go out and help somebody else, okay? And another thing, us young people, we need to wake up, and I'm telling you, we need to run for office, and we need to unseat all the people who have been there for decades, who have not done nothing but added problems to our country, okay? Our national debt is at a point where it is ridiculous. I don't understand how the government can get $5 trillion and we cannot account for not $1 of where it's going, what it's really being used for, and we're spending $7 trillion in a year. Okay, we need to start getting in there, us young people, and we need to go in there and change things, because we are coming from a generation of no nonsense. So that's something I just wanted to share with you guys. I know I was a little all over the place, but us as young people, after Charlie Kirk's death, we should not be violent to anybody. We need to play the game, guys. We need to start showing up in numbers, and we need to start playing the game. We need to start running for office. Don't be scared, because if you have a bright idea, you can change the world with your idea. And we need to just run, and we need to come together. And like us young people, we need to coalesce around each other and actually have a vision for us in the future, because we need to change the way our system is working right now, because it's not working for us. And that is something that is very important. And guys, I am currently walking right now on the beach. I had to take a second to collect myself, um, to get this message out. I know I was a little all over the place, but I hope I was able to give you guys some clarity and to give you share my ideas. Stay tuned. I will be doing something here in Jersey very soon, very big. I'm gonna announce some things sooner, and we're gonna see what we can do here in this state and making it a better state for everybody and making it a #1 destination that people want to move to. And I'm gonna put my hat in the race, but I'll let you guys know. I'll come out with that announcement, and I'll figure that part out. Peace out. Thank you guys.